Shemai, Elite Dangerous Chums. Good news, everybody. The Corsair has been released for credits, and it's only 79 million, which is a lot more expensive than the Python, the original Python that it is set to replace. But once you've upgraded it, you're talking 290 to 390 million total, so it probably isn't that much of a difference because you're going to spend a lot on this vessel to get it up to spec, because it is a combat-orientated multipurpose. So for that reason, it's going to be quite expensive. So let's look at the outfitting first. And then we're going to talk about performance and show you how it performs, especially in combat. A lot of combat sequences to finish. First thing, laser-wise, it's got, not laser-wise, weaponry-wise, where it beats the Python is it's got an extra medium slot right here on the Python. But let's look at the core internal first before we talk about weaponry. And also what I should say is, any combat vessel, such as the FDL, the Python Mark II, they are far superior. Someone dropped in Reddit saying, I have a Python Mark II, but I'm waiting for the Corsair to drop so I can do some combat. And yeah, no, really isn't. This is not a replacement for the Python Mark II. If the Python Mark II is not tanky enough, then, and if you're getting killed a lot, then honestly, use an ship launch fighter and the Crate Mark II is probably the best way just to get kills, but that's not going to teach you combat really. You are probably best with this. It is very tanky indeed for when the shields go down. So let's talk about that. Military grade composite is what I've got, heavy duty armour, G4, and that's 78 tons already. And you want deep plating as well to finish this. But really, honestly, you could do lightweight, and that'll save you the weight, which will help with jump range as well. So lightweight is a good call if you fancy that. And I've done lightweight, but for combat, not jump range. For combat, I didn't notice a great deal of difference with making this lightweight and getting rid of the extra bits and pieces that add weight, the extra hull reinforcements. I took them off as well just to test it. Power plant, you're going to disagree with me, and I disagree with me. Overcharged G3, double braced. Reason I've put that in is because I had it available and it's cheaper on the materials. And remember, this is a PvE ship that I'm building here, not PvP. Because if you're PvP, you're going to be toast as soon as you face a competent FDL or semi-competent FDL or Python Mark II pilot. You will beat people who don't know what they're doing. Thrusters. We got Dirty Drive G5 drag drives. That is what this ship benefits from, because it gives it a hell of a, well, I suppose boost speed is not as big as you might expect, 600 meters per second. It's certainly good enough. And the other thing as well, it's a good, I'm told it's a good AX ship as well, and it runs really cool, which is good for what we're building it for. FSD, you're going to want a big one. G5, you're going to want a big one. That makes me laugh. Sorry. Mass Manager, G5 Mass Manager, gives us a decent jump range. Use pre-engineered. As it's multi-purpose, you're going to be jumping all over the place. I'm thinking Powerplay2, that kind of business, maybe some piracy. Power distributor, again, 7A, G5, charge enhanced, super conduits. You could use this as a mining build, but obviously engine focused is what we use on mining. I may do a mining build later. I may not. Much later, weeks. Sensors, we got lightweight scanner. I could go G3, but I got bored of clicking the button. That's the honest reason. You could do other. There's lots of arguments for the sensors, but I don't notice a difference myself in the way I use it. Right, here's a big one. Bi-weave, shield generator, thermal resistant G5 with fast charge. You could put a 6A, but especially if you're going to go a prismatic, you're going to need that power plant that I've got in now, basically, and upgrade it even more, because you won't have the energy if you use, I think, armored. Probably. It depends on your build. Shield cell bank. You've got a 6A here, so you're going to need that mainly for when you make mistakes. You've got ammo capacity of 4. I've only ever used 1. Cargo rack is a 6 class, gives us a nice 64 tons of cargo for if you're doing some cargo missions. So that's why it's mixed. Very good for that. Maybe overkill for what you want to use it for. FSD booster is essential for all our multi-builds. It gives us a 10 light year jump range. To increase it to 35 to 38 rather than 25 to 29 light years, which it would have otherwise. Hull reinforcements. So these are what I'd said you could drop if you are very confident of the shield not going down, which I'm honestly not. I recommend having at least one of these. So we've got a G5 heavy duty deep plating. That gives us 22.5 tons each. And I think they're worth their weight in gold. And it's really what you want from this ship. You could also put an extra cargo rack in there, maybe one. Is what I'd go for. I wouldn't go for any more than that. Just if you're, unless you're excellent, in which case, crack on, lads. Fuel scoop. Now this is really for if you make mistakes with the jumping. Really, it could be replaced. It could be better to have a fuel tank in there instead. But this is for plasma weaponry with the plasma. Right, operations limpet controller. So this is going to buddy up with the cargo rack, because you want to be able to have some limpets, because if you're doing like Powerplay2 scanning of the displays, you're going to use it for that, for hacking the displays, and also if you're a pirate, you could use it for a bit of basic piracy, hatchbreaker limpets kind of business. Guardian module reinforcement. You need it really for PvP more than anything. I've not needed it for PvE. So, but I've seen some builds on Reddit which don't have any module reinforcements package at all. I'd be very nervous about that, because you always face people in open at some point. And if you want to bug out, it's a lot better when all your optionals work, or when your FST works. And ideally, if it was pure combat, I'd want at least this slot here, 3 slot, to be a module reinforcement, maybe even the 5 slot instead. So that's good. What else? Super Cruise Assist. Again, if you're doing piracy, you could replace this with a FSD interdictor, a 1 slot, something like this. Would be ideal, a 1A, but we don't have that available. Would be mighty fine. So that's your optional internals. Let's look at the utilities that go along with that. So with that shield, we've got a heavy duty G4 super caps. That works fine for the recharge, but we also have the resistant augmented flow control. That should be thermal. I think this is what I had available at the time. And we have the heat sink to give us 4 heat sinks pre-engineered, 1 for every shield cell bank. Kill warrant scanner. Now we have the fast scanner in there. Just to be, getting that. For the weaponry, the advantage of the Corsair over the Python Mark 1 is that it's got 1 extra medium slot, so we've used that for a multi-cannon. This should be high capacity with corrosive shell, not overcharged. This is a spare that I had available and I was never going to use it for anything else. And if you were going to go purely beam laser multi-cannon, then you could have 2 beam lasers thermal vents there in these slots here instead, and these could all be overcharged autoloader multi-cannons, these 3 here. However, this is a build aimed at people trying to perhaps learn manual, or have a mix of gimbled and manual dream shot. So this multi-cannon, the corrosive, is enhancing these 2 here. These are all on the 1 fire group. So you've got a pulse laser with rapid fire multi-servals, builded up with scramble spectrum rapid fire burst laser. And a scramble spectrum triggers random malfunctions on the target. So that's why we've done that. An alternative to these 3 would be, and this is kind of what I prefer, I'm not sure if I'm better with these particular, I'm not sure if it is necessarily a better build, is the railguns. So we've got, now these are the PvP railguns, and the reason why I don't use these is because you've only got 80 capacity ammo, so it's not enough ammo for any kind of combat zone or anything like that. But you could use it for bounty hunting single targets, something like that. But let's just show you what it's all about. Short range blast feedback cascade will stop the shield cell bank from operating, so it's mainly PvP. Super penetrator on both of these others, and that will be for targeting sniping modules. But what we have used is long range plasma slug. Now these run very hot, these 3 here. 150 degrees Celsius is easily achieved, whereas with plasma slug you're talking 80 to 100 Celsius. So that's one good thing about plasma slug. Also they're a lot more efficient, they're cooler, but also with plasma slug you have unlimited, the ammo capacity is is reliant upon how big your fuel tank is, and the fuel tank is decent on the Corsair, so we never ran out of ammo, or I never ran out of ammo when buddied up with the plasmas I used here. But you might want to put on an extra fuel tank. Now I've got long range weapon, gives us nearly 5k's range there. G4 plasma slug, but what I probably recommend is a short range similar to this, perhaps not quite that short, maybe G3 or G5 to make it more like, rather than 1.5 kilometers, 1,500 meters, to make it more like 2 kilometers, something like that is what I would probably do if I could choose to do it over again, but I was limited by what I had available. So plasma slug, these are good, so we would put those in, those three, all the same in all three slots with the plasma slug. And plasma accelerator, the elephant in the room is advanced plasma. I'll show you what the alternative to that is in a minute, but just to talk about the advanced plasma, it gives you a really good shot speed as standards, 875 meters per second, rather than the slow shot speed of the standard plasma. Also, it uses much less distributor, which is why we've got all three of them. You don't necessarily need to use efficient on it as well. You could use something like short range, but and you could use again plasma slug, similar to the railguns I had there. But you might want an extra fuel tank if you're going to use all plasma slug, but maybe not. Also, the plasma slug itself will run cooler as well, so you're gonna it's not going to run as hot, so that's mighty fine. But for these ones, it's an efficient weapon, G5, and ammo capacity is much better as well. You're looking at 300, so rather than the much lower ammo capacity of the standard plasmas. But modification wise, efficient G5. Thermal conduit, that works, that adds damage when you're hot, which the railguns will certainly make you hot enough. Target lock breaker, again that's for PvP more than anything. Dispersal field, this confuses Gimbled turreted weapons, so again mainly PvP but could work on PvE. The alternative to these, if you don't have the advanced, because the advanced plasmas are only unlocked with Powerplay2, but if you don't have those, then choose something like this. Now this is a 2 version, but you'd obviously choose a 3. This is a focus weapon plasma slug. Now what it does, it will increase your shot speed to 1,600 meters per second, even faster than the advanced on G4 there. However, the tricky bit is going to be distributor, so I'd probably still go efficient on this, and you just have to, I'd recommend that you just learn to deal with the much slower shot speed, and it'll be more of a learning experience than a deeper learning experience than the advanced plasmas, but it's certainly doable and certainly a good solution, because I've only got advanced available. That's the reason why I went for what I went for. So that's your weaponry. Onwards to a little bit of performance and combat. Boost speed is going to be close to 600 when you're smashing that out, but the pitch and the yaw is not brilliant. It's similar to the Python, similar to the Crate Mark II, that kind of ship. Nothing like the Python Mark II or the FDL whatsoever, but it's doable. And I suppose it's like when you get into a boost and then want to turn out of it, it's very slow. Very slow indeed, even with flight assist off. So let's do some bit of combat. First off, the view from a bridge. Well, it's exactly the same as the Courier, like the background is exactly the same. You've got a seat behind there somewhere. But looking upwards, you can see that we have some good visibility up to the sides, not bad. Some people don't like this bar up in the middle there. Let's start with our Gimbled lasers and advanced plasmas. So this is an FDL. Inevitably they tend to boost at you, and you can already see that the pitch is not great, so we're using flight assist off to try and alleviate that. Lots of flight assist off, and at least if they're trying to boost away from us, we can catch them up with the higher boost speed. A lot of the time I'm just constantly hitting them with these lasers just to keep the punishment, but because of the jitter, there's a substantial amount of jitter. You don't want to be pointing towards a station Perhaps this is a little bit close for me, because if you hit the station it'll instantly destroy you with your with the station defences in this particular scenario. But we're doing okay, we're doing okay. See, a lot of it's at distance and then they suddenly come up close to you. So when they're boosting at you, sometimes you can get a plasma round off, sometimes you can't. It really varies and it is quite difficult with the FDL. But I'm getting some decent shots in. The shields are down now, only 14%. But we're relying heavily on the Gimbled weapons, and I think that's the real benefit of those. And once we lose a Gimbled, we still got the speed of the advanced plasmas. And that's one down. The Vulture. Now this is another jousting scenario where they can be quite the pain. The Vulture is a much smaller target than the FDL, so therefore more difficult to nail. You see, I'm struggling with it boosting towards, even though the Vulture doesn't have an immense boost speed, the closing speed and the size of it is making it difficult to deal with. And we even bump it there, which I don't understand why the Vulture uses. With its shields are the main strength. As soon as it loses its shields, it should be dead. But sometimes they seem to have a magic hull on these Vultures that we see, despite losing the shields. But we're just going to cane it with the lasers, and this is boosted via the corrosive MC to help things along, and it really helps with these smaller vessels. But as we'll see in a minute, the railguns can be used, especially when at distance. Just over 2 kilometers, a bit far for the rails, but now we're coming into the rail territory for if you had short range rails. Our own rails are of course 5Ks, as you remember, so they would be fine in either scenario. So notice how quickly we can get the shots off. Every second or two we got a plasma hitting them, and that's doing the main damage. And I think it's a bit hobbled perhaps by the jitter and the smaller target, perhaps where not a lot of the laser shots are hitting. At least when it's at distance, and when it gets closer we should be nailing it on. And that's another one. Here's a DBX. Now I'm going to show you the chaff effect of the DBX, which is going to confuse our Gimbled weapons at a few points here. Got to be careful around that station. I'm turning off to avoid hitting it with the stutter, and you can see it's launched a chaff there, so we can only use the plasma weapons there because they're manual and we can hit it no problem. And the chaff is gone, we can get the gimbals back on, but we don't choose not to for a while because we're too busy smashing it with the plasma. But as you'll see, the buddy doesn't get away, it's fine. But what do we want to use? We want to use some rails instead, yeah? So here's our railguns. We've chosen a Vulture to start off with. This is a Spec Ops Elite, you would think. They're very good. So even though it's a small target, you can get it from distance, but as you get up close it's a lot easier. And don't forget to, in between the railgun shots, to hit the plasma. The problem with this, sometimes you need to move up and down to get the plasma and rotate your orientation to get that right. But we make pretty short work of it. It seems to be running away for some reason and not manoeuvring, which is kind of nice for us. One thing I should point out, which is quite rare, is that the heat has gone above the 100%, purely because I'm just nailing it with lots of rails at this point. And that's what I wanted to really show you. And a bit of a ram to finish it off. And that's one buddy finished. Some nice merits on that one. Next, and to finish it really, we have a Python. This is the original Python to finish it off. And you can see there's a mix of railgun shots and advanced accelerators. So I should probably say at this point, our conclusions are it is a good replacement for the original Python. It's certainly not competitive with the Python Mark II for handling reasons, but it does have a lot more hull, and you can really make it a solid build, and it is usable, no problem. So is it worth it? Yes, I think it is worth it for your collection, but it's not. I'd argue it's not really worth it as a combat vessel unless you're talking AX, but I've not done anti-Xeno on this, and I've yet to do that build, so that's something for the future for myself. But it's got to, sure, it's one that you want to add to the collection. The SCO factor of it, I'd say, is a lesser thing, but it is SCO native, so if you're into that, then that's also an added addition, and it's got that extra medium compared to the Python, as can be seen in front of us. So certainly a multi-build that you really want to consider for your fleet, but it may not be the one that you want to purchase right now just because it's been released. So any questions, drop them down below. I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for watching. Have a most excellent day if you're playing Elite Danger Ray.